Hey guys, welcome to my channel where if you know, you can grow. So let's erase our doubt and let's pay attention because with Sean, it's always something to learn. So today we're going to be transitioning my Philodendron Prince of Orange from this container right here to a self-watering container. Also in the meantime, when I was over there in the corner, I just spotted stuff like mealy bugs, and then it started looking like I was seeing thrips, and just to rest my mind, I am just going to be cleaning my plant with my insecticidal soap, and I'm going to be using my systematic houseplant insect control. At the end of the day, your plants are going to get sick ahead of it. And the reason why you want to get ahead of it is because, number one, you don't want it to spread. That's the worst thing in the world, for one plant to infect all your plants. I don't wish that on anybody. It has happened to me, and where one plant that I brought in just started everything. And I still feel like to this day that it just never stopped. It just kept going until it gets to each and every plant, and I have cleaned each and every plant, then it's going to be done. So I guess that's part of the journey as well. But number two is you don't want any type of pest that you have going on to kill your plant at the end of the day. I mean, these plants like this, to get to this size, it's taking years, right? It has at least taken you a year to get a plant to a decent size when you buy it as a baby. Because a lot of times we buy those plants as a baby because, for price reasons. That's what I bought mine for. And maybe some of them are really just interested in growing something all the way from a baby all the way to its huge form. By Viva, the paper towels, I forgot, they have one little name on it. Let me see, hold on. It's called the Signature Cloth by Viva. These are really good to use if you don't have microfiber gloves or anything like that. Very soft. But yeah, so basically what I do is I just take the insecticidal soap and I spray it on the plant. Top and bottom leaf, you just want to wipe it. That's all. It's that simple. And you can do this weekly. Once a week you do this. And it shouldn't take no more than 3 to 4 weeks for treatment. If you still have a problem then, I suggest you just throw away your plant. But if you're brave enough to try it over again, make sure you're not missing no spots. Just remember, if you are trying it over again, I would go ahead and separate that plant and move it from around any other plants, because there's a good chance that the longer that plant is there, the longer it could affect your other ones. All right. So everything has been wiped down and we're looking pretty clean. Here we go. These right here have been working pretty good for me so far. Right here. Black and gold. Guys, I went everywhere looking for this stuff today. I knew I was going to go to one of my local nurseries, but I went to my favorite nursery first, just to see if they had this, and they didn't. They said they hadn't had it in a while. So then I went to another hardware store, Ace's Hardware, and they didn't have this, and this is the only place, Aces is the only place that I saw that had this right here in particular. So I panicked, but I was trying out a new Ace and didn't go to the one that I usually go to. So I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and go there. Went there, and they had it. And since I went a little bit crazy on thinking that I might not be able to find this if it's going to be hard to get to, they had 7 bags there, and who do you think bought 7 bags? This guy. So, here we go. Black and gold orchid bark. This works so good on your monsteras, on your philodendrons, on your pothos. It just works good really on every plant that I've used. Now, of course, you can add a little bit more indoor pot mix to it as you need it, and I'll show you why. Let me just go ahead and get me a knife, cut into it so we can. All right. Go ahead and cut. So this is what the mix looks like, straight out the bag. Ooh, that's going all on the floor. Okay, it's a very chunky mix, which is perfect for philodendrons. So, I would not need to add any pot mix to that. It's just good straight out the bag, which is why I wanted to get that, because I don't have to do my own mix. Don't get me wrong, I do love doing my own mix, and when I do have the time to, that's great. But for right now, I am trying to get a lot of plants repotted and situated as we get ready to get into these winter months, because I feel like I'm going to have to run my humidifier a little bit. I ran it last year over the winter time for about like 2 months and about 6 hours a day. And I kind of feel my plants getting to the point of needing it. They just seem to be a little bit more droopier in the room. And I don't know how science works, but they didn't just seem all just like this. So I'm going to see if I can get some humidity going in there, if that'll kind of just perk them back up. All right, so here we go. And this actually, the roots, everything looks pretty good, and I'm not going to mess with it because the plant has been growing fine. All I'm doing is transitioning it. So I may not even need any of it for mine, because I believe it's enough in this pot to go around. And that's a good thing about with the philodendron or with any type of plant when you're doing a repot. When those roots haven't filled up before you get ready to do a repot for whatever reason, it's okay to use that same soil. Not every time when you do a repot of a plant that you necessarily need to go bigger on your pot. I have seen instances in which I've get ready to do a repot on a plant because it looks heavy or top or leaning, and when I get in there, I see that the roots have only dropped down to about half there. Well, in that case, what I would do, since some of the roots are coming at the top or need to be pushed down more, then I would just remove some of the soil that's down here, place that in there, and then just soil it around. Because again, taking a pot like this, if the plant is doing great and you have a pot like this, it's too big, so you're going to eventually run into some root rot or some type of thing that your plant's just not going to like. Because again, when you put a plant in a pot that's too big, it shifts its focus on the plant shifts its focus on the root system down here trying to fill the pot out. So therefore, you're not going to get a plant that's actively pushing out. So your plant can stay looking the same way for a very long time, and you're just like, well, what's going on? It's still alive, it's still green, but it's not growing. And it's because you just have it in a pot that's a little too big, and it's working overtime down here. So, with that being said, we're just filling this pot all the way around. And I don't need to add anything to it. This actually did pretty good on its own. A little bit more soil on whatever side that it's trying to lean on. Most of the time, what I do when I have a problem like that, that's why I like to keep this around where it's just orchid bark. I will either use just orchid bark or I will use perlite for when a plant's leaning around and giving you a little bit of a problem. Because you don't necessarily want soil in there, because when you water your plant, it's going to hold on to that moisture around there. We just want something to position it, and maybe it might not be time for a stake or something to prop it up against yet. So those will work as a good substitute, like this does right now, to keep it from leaning to the side. So, and since we're actively treating our plant, we want to add the systematic houseplant insect control to it as well. You just sprinkle a little bit on the top of the soil. And this is just to make sure that if there's any little critters or anything that I have, this should take care of it. All right, and there we go. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and get ready to water the plant. And this plant's going to be good to go. Y'all know what I almost forgot? My Super Thrive. I don't know what I would have done if I would have forgot about this. All right, guys. guys. And right here, my meter has moved all the way past this full mark. So I need to take water out of here actually. I was just trying to make sure that the water would pass through, which it has. So I'm gonna go dump some water out. I'll be right back. All right, guys, so here we have it right here. The water meter has been taken care of. I have it right at the full line. And so I will not be watering this plant or have to water this plant at least for a week to about a week and a half. I will check on it back and forth, but I have done this with some similar sized philodendrons, and that's usually the course that it runs. But again, I just won't assume. I will keep an eye on it, but I don't expect anything major to be different. With that being said, I hope you learned something from the video, and make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Guys, just share it. Let anybody know that's trying to figure out how to grow a plant. But with that being said, I appreciate you being here. You're growing with Sean.